Once we have identified everything that happens to us internally, we are now able to get out of our psyche and focus on what in our world is activating those thoughts that affect us. To all this, I want you to reflect on the following. After all this exercise and techniques, you have fallen back into the emotional loop that subjected you to those obsessive thoughts that did not leave you alone. If you have done all the exercise consciously, I am sure that there is very little you have thought about in those situations that hurt you. Precisely because at a neuronal level, what we are doing here is teaching your brain to control its own thought generation processes. If you look, the problem was not the thoughts or the person who hurt you, but how you were yourself who could not manage your inner world efficiently, which is what you are learning here. So, based on all of the above, what we are going to do here is recognize which are the catalysts of emotion that are activating those thoughts that overwhelm you. As you will remember, I told you in the previous section that emotions and thoughts are activated because our body perceives something which causes it to generate sensations, and that those sensations in turn activate the thoughts that overwhelm you. The question that arises is where what the body perceives arises, clearly from the outside world. Those phenomena that are found in the external world are called catalysts of emotion, because they activate emotions or thoughts. And these emotion catalysts may have no relationship to what's affecting you. For example, you could walk down the street and perceive some smell coming from a store or restaurant and associate it with some event that reminds you of the person who hurt you. Here, the possibilities are endless, but you will realize that in your case, the catalysts for your emotions are rather limited. So, in the following table, and because you already know what thoughts are bothering you, you are going to write down what catalysts or events in your external world are that lead you to remember that person or situation that activates your obsessive thoughts. It could be that in your house there's a figure which, on an unconscious level, reminds you of what hurts you. And even when you see that element for a very short time, that element of your reality is still going to activate the thought. Some time ago, I had the case of a person who, every time she heard a song of a woman who was betrayed by her partner, reminded her of the betrayal she had suffered 10 years ago. And the emotions were activated, and the thought was activated, and the emotional loop was activated, from which she could not escape after a couple of hours in which she was ruminating on her anger because of the betrayal she had received 10 years ago. So the idea here is that you can associate all the elements of your external world that activate your body's physical sensations and your obsessive thoughts. That's why in this page you will notice that there are different spaces. First, you are going to write down the thought. That will be easy for you because you already know what your obsessive thoughts are. The idea here is that you can do it in a hierarchical way. That is, from the thought that hurts you the most and that occurs the most in your psyche to the one that does so to a lesser extent. Based on that, in the following table, what you are going to do is indicate the place, situation, object, or time. It could be the house on a specific street that you pass by in the afternoons. It can be the moment when you meet with someone, with one of your friends, or it can be a plant or a clock, which in some way reminds you of the circumstance that subjects you to those thoughts. As you can see, thanks to this exercise, you will realize that there are not so many events that are catalyzing your emotions. And it is precisely this that will allow you to recognize and prepare for the moment in which you already know in advance that the emotion is going to manifest. Time recognition is also important. There are people who submit to obsessive thoughts in the morning when they wake up. Other people do it in the afternoons when the sun goes down. You will notice, once you manage to establish your times, that obsessive thinking does not manifest itself throughout your day, but it's actually a phenomenon that occurs under certain specific circumstances, with which you will be able to regain control little by little of what is happening to you. And once you have established the catalyst for the emotion, the idea is that in the next table, you describe what happens in those moments. Here, we return to what we talked about at the beginning of all this treatment. All this happens in a microsecond, but thanks to this, by mapping what happens to us, we are able to observe and control with total clarity what subjects us to that state of alteration. So, in the corresponding box, the idea is that you write succinctly what happens. For example, here you can put if the catalyst is a house what you pass by in the afternoons. I walk by the house and notice a white line in the pane of the house. The idea is that in this frame, you focus on the details of what you are observing. And after you have done the above, I want you to indicate what you associate that event with. The line in the painting reminds me of some event X that makes me feel that way. And with that, you can now observe in slow motion and with total certainty what causes the obsessive thought that overwhelms you so much.